On yesterday's show, we discussed Al Horford declining his $30 million player option with the Celtics. Now, the Boston Herald and Woj are reporting Horford will seek a long-term deal outside of Boston. Ramona, were you surprised by this Horford news?
Yeah, I think so. Al's been their steady guy. Like, that's their leader. And for him to be in another uniform next year lets you, is this the rebuild? They didn't get AD. Kyrie might leave. Now Al might leave. I mean, is this the rebuild? Are we already talking about that? It's not much of a rebuild considering the talent they still have on that team.
They've got good players, yeah.
But, Al was so central to that team over the last couple of years. I mean, he's not flashy. He's not a guy that you talk about all that much.
He just gets it done.
But he gets it done. Yeah. He's so central. Who do they have to replace him on that front line?
So we've got Woj real quick saying all talks have, quote-unquote, perished at this point. That's a pretty strong word, Byron.
I love the words Woj uses.
Yeah, that's a real strong word. I was like, Ramona, I was surprised when I heard this, that he was opting out. But it also tells you that, the cohesiveness that they had in Boston a couple of years ago when everybody was talking about how great this team was going to be. And, you had an injured Kyrie Irving and an injured Gordon Hayward. Once those guys come back, this team's going to be the best team in the Eastern Conference.
It's crazy.
How quickly it all just turned, that quickly. So Al knows something, obviously, that we don't.
Right.
He's in that locker room every single day. He's on that floor every single day. Yeah. And for him to opt out and say, I want a long-term deal somewhere else, tells me that all that harmony that we were talking about is strictly gone, and he wants out.
Well, my understanding is he was open to doing a more team-friendly contract. That he was open to extending and helping them
initially.
Yeah. And now, perished. That's a heck of a word.
Yes. The situation is deceased, basically.
Yeah, that means in Inglewood gone.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the Celtics, we got more information about some of the discord. So here's what's coming out of Boston on what went wrong this season. Our Jackie MacMullan, in an appearance on NBC Sports Boston, said that Brad Stevens is, quote-unquote, force-feeding Gordon Hayward to bring him back and bring his confidence back early in the season, created chemistry issues for the Celtics. Here's the quote. He gave the benefit of the doubt over and over to a player that wasn't ready, to a guy who had history with him, and it rankled the locker room. So, Byron, are you buying that this is the root of the Celtics issues this past season?
I'm not buying that this is the root, but I am buying that it is one of the causes of the problem in their locker room. When players are looking at this situation and they think that you're showing favoritism, that they think that you're trying to get one of the guys that you've known for years, that's your boy, you're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, it does create a rift. And I think that's one of the main problems that the Celtics had this year, along with a couple other ones that we've heard about as well. But when you have dissension like this in the locker room, that will divide any locker room quickly. And that's one of the reasons that this team failed to be as good as they were supposed to be this year.
I just can't get over the irony in all this, right? I mean, the Celtics take a hit for trading Isaiah Thomas after he's coming off his injury. And then now they treat Gordon Hayward as best as you can treat a player coming off a severe injury. And this is what causes discord in the locker room? I mean, it comes back to, in the NBA, you just have to play the right guys at all times.
Right.
And it's such a delicate balance, right? It's such a delicate ecosystem of making people feel empowered, making people feel that you don't have agendas. And it seems like you should be rewarded for something like that, right? That you should be rewarded for helping Gordon reconstitute himself on the court.
Right. So
the guys in the locker room would appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a strange scenario. I did a couple of their games this year, and clearly the Kyrie situation was palpable. We all know that. But this was a thing, too. Like, this was a thing that you kind of heard rumblings about that, that's Brad's guy. And look, I get why he might have done it. If you look at the numbers, and Tom Haberstroh of NBC Sports had this stat out there during the season that when Gordon scored 15 points or more, their record was incredible.
Yeah, they were really good.
So if you're Brad and you know that, maybe that's why you're trying to do that, because you know it's worked out for your team in those situations.
Well, and I think the situation comes down to leadership. Kyrie Irving was supposed to be the leader of that team. Clearly that didn't manifest itself.
No doubt.
And when you're supposed to be the leader, the point guard, setting everybody up, if you keep everybody happy. You distribute the ball, but Kyrie is not a traditional point guard. He is a scoring point guard. He's not somebody who is, let's say, a Ricky Rubio or a Steve Nash.
Even a Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, like somebody who knows how to spread things around.
Right.
And so therefore it falls on the coach. And therefore, those personal attachments come into play. It reminds me a little of the Clippers when Doc Rivers coached his son.
Right.
Even though Austin Rivers was a very valuable part of that team, he
Yes.
actually gave him a pretty good chance to win when he was at his best. it hurt Doc coaching his team. Guys in the locker room, especially when Doc was the GM and Austin got paid. People said, "Oh, you just paid your son."
Right.
Whether it's true or not, the optics were terrible.
Yeah, and optics matter. Perception is reality in a lot of these situations.